Dear Father Simon, the dignified and noble Sister Susie, and the brother from the gutter,
Yeah,
Brother
that's
Matthew.
right. Embrace it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brother from the gutter.
Brother from the
From
gutter.
the gutter.
I quite like that, actually.
Yeah.
That has a it has a 10cc ring to it, but it also kind of works,
Yeah,
I think.
definitely.
During the long hot summer of 1976, says Emma, I was 17 years old and at Secretarial College. Punks are everywhere. Although Brotherhood of Man won the Eurovision Song Contest, and I, Emma, during the evenings of Thursdays, Fridays and Saturdays, work in the local fish and chip shop. Good work, hard work at times, and all the very warm tins of Coke anyone could ever ask for. Always positioned just above the fryer. For some reason, you want a hot Coke?
Yes, please.
Are they just the display ones, though? Isn't there a fridge somewhere?
No such thing as a display Coke, is there really? I don't know, I don't think so. Anyway, this is 1976, so this is back in the day. Everything is better now.
Okay.
I smelt of salt and vinegar all week, but that's not a bad thing now, is it? Says Emma. Well, I suppose it's better than smelling of fish. We sold battered cod, battered haddock, or battered sausage. For vegetarians, there was just the batter. I don't think the curry sauce had meat in it, but I wouldn't swear to that, to be perfectly honest. Now so many people are thinking, you know what? That's what I fancy now. Chips and curry sauce. Thank you very much. Especially on a starving day.
Thanks again.
The owner of the fish and chip shop, Gaz, would prepare bucket loads of potatoes to be fried. The buckets were white, semi-opaque plastic with a metal handle. Every day I would find a line of these buckets ready to go. Now, Gaz used to like a beer or two, and there just happened to be a pub across the road from the fish and chip shop. During quiet periods, he would leave me alone in the shop and go over to the pub, probably to watch the Olympics, which was on that summer.
1976, yeah.
Montreal.
Yeah, Montreal.
Wow.
I was to see it's working. I was to telephone the pub if there was a sudden rush on. I never minded this as I enjoyed being in charge. I enjoyed the regulars. Sissy would always have the cod, 2 portions of chips and a chat about the news. The country was going to the dogs, apparently.
Okay.
Old postman, well, it was 1976.
Okay.
Old postman Brian would always have the sauce and the chips with 100 weight of salt on each. My guess is he might not be with us anymore. But it was fun, Father Simon, and I liked the customers. So, one Saturday night, the fish and chip shop went quiet. Gaz goes off to the pub across the road. A few pints of Watney Red Barrel, doubtless. After about 10 minutes, a crowd of, I'm afraid to say, drunken Millwall football fans came into the shop. There were about a dozen of them. They were very hungry, and they seemed to want to buy everything. Was it time to call Gaz? No, sir. I felt I could cope. I knew what I was doing. Or so I thought. So, yes, what I did for the starving Millwall fans, I grabbed the bucket with the chips in it that was closest to me, and I threw the chips into the hot fat. Unfortunately, now obviously there's a whole number of things that could go at this point.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I got carried away, and I regret to inform the collective that I let go of the bucket, and it ended up in the hot fat as well, and it sank very fast. I went into a panic, but felt the best thing to do was to try and get the bucket out. I grabbed the long-handled chip shovel and pulled out the metal handle, but the rest of the bucket had disintegrated into the hot fat. Well, it's fair to say that our football fans had not noticed this. They weren't noticing very much. They were still just milling about, joshing about the game and whatever football fans like to banter about. I could have sent them away. I could have recommended the Tasty Place, our deadly rivals in town. I could have called Gaz, but no. I felt the best thing to do was to just carry on regardless.
Oh, right.
And I dished up the chips to the Millwall supporters, obviously not mentioning the fact that they were possibly covered in plastic.
Yeah.
I put the compromising metal handle in my bag to dispose of at a later date. Now, I know opinions about plastic have changed since the 1970s, which I have to say is this a hopeless line. But I do ask forgiveness from the Millwall supporters for serving them plastic-covered chips. But I don't think that they knew anything was wrong, as they were all quite drunk.
Oh, right.
Obviously, this was a dangerous thing to do.
Yes.
Yes.
And
waiting for that line.
don't recommend anyone tries anything like this at home. I also asked for forgiveness from Gaz for lying when a few days later he asked me if I knew anything about the missing bucket. And I said no, I knew nothing about the missing bucket at all. Well, the truth was the bucket had melted and it had formed an interesting coating over the chips,
Oh, lovely.
but no one had noticed. No, this is a very serious matter. Sister Susie got a serious face
Well,
on.
I have, because it's not just the Millwall supporters. Like, how long is that oil kept in that thing for? I would think quite a few more customers, if not, you know, the rest of that evening. So you fed plastic-coated chips to many people that night, and I just don't think it's very nice, and I think you should have owned up and changed the oil, because what if they were poorly? So, Emma, I'm sorry, not forgiven from me.
Brother from the gutter.
I'm going to say, if I know Emma, I'm going to say she will have told people other than the Millwall fans that, you know, maybe don't have any chips tonight because I've lost a bucket in the fryer. So I'm going to say forgiven because, frankly, you know, I mean, the fans were fine. You know, there was never any problem. Well, I'm going to guess that they were fine, and I never heard any stories
Yes.
about that. So I'm going to say forgiven.
Okay.